I'm excited to welcome you today to explore the nutrition component of creative coping inside out, together with my guest, Jennifer Jefferies. Please welcome Jennifer, who has a long history as a naturopath and is one of Australia's most respected authors and speakers in the area of health and well-being. Jen has authored 7 Steps to Sanity and 11 other health-related titles, sharing practical real-life strategies to help teams and individuals improve their health, well-being and productivity by finding balance in their lives. Jennifer is highly sought after as a presenter, speaking to corporations in more than a dozen countries, including Australia, the USA, New Zealand and Southeast Asia. She is determined to leave the world a better place and has also established the Q Foundation to give health, hope and happiness to children in poverty-stricken countries by providing education, healthcare, accommodation and welfare services. She's also, just on the side, a Doc Marten wearing, Harley Davidson riding adventurer who at 55 years has only recently taken up surfing and not long ago walked the entire Camino Trail on a fundraising mission. She also happens to be one of my favourite people who I'm blessed to call friend. Jen, this is our second attempt at doing this. Lovely to see. Nice to have an excuse to see your face again.
Thank you.
Jen, we are knocking heads together for a specific purpose today, and that is in relation to combining my creative coping e-course with a specific nutritional cleansing system that you've introduced me to. And now so many reasons that we want to do this, but creative coping, just to give a really quick background, it's a program that's designed for busy people, particularly women. I target the program toward, and it's really about building your resilience. So I call it your mental flexibility, mental endurance, emotional stamina and emotional fitness. What I really want to talk about with you, Jen, in particular is the nutritional cleansing system that I've been on, that you introduced me to, and I'll be forever grateful. If I'm honest, Jen, you actually showed me the light about 3 years ago in terms of this particular approach. And as we've said before, I trusted you. Mm-hmm. But I didn't jump on board with this particular program because it probably challenged some of my ideas about how we're meant to look when we're eating nutritionally. So I had a big fat ego that was preventing me from taking some really proactive action. But I'm at a point now where I am using some fantastic supplements and a couple of different things that we can talk about later that has really, really helped me. And I want to be able to share it with some of my clients. I want to be able to share it with more people because I truly think that the approach I use is going to be elevated with a nutritionally rich foundation. So can I get some of your amazing naturopathic input on how intricately related our mental health is with what we're putting into our bodies in terms of hormones and all that fun?
Yay, I can. And I might actually just start by saying, like, you're the way, majority of the population are. We like to think that we can just get everything, from our food. Yeah. And through my years in clinic, I absolutely found that, you can eat a raw, vegan, organic, vegetarian, paleo, whole food, whoopty-doopy diet. And it doesn't mean shit. When you open up your emails and see, too many emails, or the kids are going, mum, 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 too many times that day, or you're stuck in the traffic or whatever, because every time we experience that bit of stress, our body goes into survival mode and it makes us toxic. So it's not just what we eat, it's how our body deals with life physically and then how we're responding. And so you're teaching all the kind of the external stuff, and my thing is all the internal. Because, and really simple things like in my years as a naturopath, I found so many people who, it's not even that they were depressed. They're just not happy. And it's because their brain's being starved of the right nutrition to turn the happy hormones on, because nowadays we're eating so many foods that have been just taken too far from nature. So I'm a really realistic naturopath, and I want people to live and eat as close to nature as they can, but make sure that what they're eating and doing and dealing with in life enables all of their body systems to be looked at and to be addressed. So, big things, my specialty in clinic was very much around adrenal health and getting your body out of survival mode, because your adrenals are where you produce the stress hormones, things like cortisol, but it's where you also produce your boy and girl hormones. So that's really huge. We've got to be able to have your body dealing with stress properly. And again, you teach the outside. This is about actually physically having your body respond different. The other thing is that when you're having food that's close to nature, the most common thing that we all know we need to eat is protein. And I read in one of my books that if I'm going to have protein from an animal source, I want it from something like kangaroo, because it's a grass-fed animal. When you're getting a protein that comes from a grass-fed animal, you get all of the amino acids, particularly the ones that turn our serotonin and our dopamine on. They're our happy hormones. And there's so many little elements that kind of happen, and people can think they've got it right. Or even nowadays, people think they can be having this big, gorgeous looking healthy salad for lunch and they're being fed everything they need, but food looks pretty nowadays. And I eat organic, but at the same time, organic doesn't even mean nutritious. There's so many things that are just void out of what we're doing. And the end result is our body's just not responding the way it should be able to. And people have to cope. And they're struggling to do so. They're living in survival mode.
Jen, I just relate to that so much. And I think, the terms burnout, I think people can relate to that. I think people often feel like they're not depressed per se. They're not happy though, as you said. And they almost feel like they're on that cusp of, at any minute I could fall off this precipice. I'm just not feeling like I've quite got it together, despite the fact that they're putting in place the things that you think you're meant to do to experience optimal health. And I, for one, can certainly relate to that. And that's really what made me reach out to you in the first place, Jen, because I was at a point in my life where I'd done all the things you meant to do. I was eating my raw greens. I was doing the gluten-free dorky funk thing.
You had a special diet.
Special diet. Eating my free-range grass-fed beef, which I'm passionate about, because I've got a few graziers in the family, so I should just put my head up and say that. So I was doing all the things ticking all the boxes. And in fact, my girlfriends would say to me, Tamara, it's sickening. Like you're a food Nazi here. So I was doing the stuff I thought I was meant to do, and I'd hit a wall. I'd hit a plateau. And in fact, I actually almost felt like I was going backwards. And, when you look at some key indicators in terms of health, physically, how you're motoring along, for me, it was energy. Where was my energy gone? Yep. And two, it was also too much information, but I'm putting it on the table. My monthly cycles were just completely out of whack. Yeah. And so they're my two big, I guess, measurements, yardsticks on how I'm traveling from a health perspective. And that's really that's when I reached out to you and said, hey, Jen, I don't have all the answers. Please help. Jen, what is this approach based on? Like, if you could sort of lay it out in simple terms, what are you looking to help people with when you're talking about nutritional balance and giving them that beautiful foundation?
So any naturopath, all we're wanting to do in the first month of seeing us is basically get the body out of survival mode and tell the basic body systems how to work properly, because we're not one body system. So most people, they'll go, too hard, burnt out or whatever. So they eat nothing and they exercise. They forget to let their body recharge properly with rest and things like that. So on a day-to-day kind of basis, I find people they're in survival mode. So they're sitting on that edge. And I know, because I did that back in my 20s, back in the 80s, I burned out my adrenal glands. So that's why I put all my clinic years, like 27 years, into specializing, helping particularly women, and, from the small business woman to the big corporate kind of woman, with exactly that, because I see them not living from that place of prevention. But we've got to get your body out of survival mode. The first thing we've got to do is just tell it to relax. So many people are doing broken sleep and they wake up between 2 and 4 a.m. And in Chinese medicine, that's the time of day that your adrenal glands recharge. So you're doing broken sleep, which means you're going to wake up kind of dragging your bum anyway the next day. We've got to be able to mobilize all the impurities in our body. We're in touch with, everything from the environmental kind of stuff that's around to the physical toxins, and even through to hormone imbalances like cortisol. Cortisol goes from being the stress hormone to the death hormone when it's out of balance for too long. All these kind of things, our body is struggling to protect us from them all the time. And it's almost like we need to reboot a computer. So we need to tell it to relax, get the crap out. And I'm not talking about the poo and pee kind of crap. I'm just talking about all the stuff that's stuck in your cells, and then flood the body with the right kind of nutrition, including all the enzymes and probiotics and everything. And then it's like rebooting a computer, and your body just goes, and when you do that, it's like 95% of your day-to-day kind of ailments disappear. Your energy comes back. And I'm not talking about that 4 coffees energy. I'm talking about it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon and you're not dragging your butt. Your sleep improves, your moods improve, your periods improve, if you've got weight you need to move or muscles you need to gain, all that kind of stuff starts because you're just telling your basic body systems how to work properly again instead of having them, living on the edge in survival mode all the time.
So effectively, Jen, you're telling your body to, as you said, use your words, to relax. We're actually not facing saber-toothed tigers here from Neanderthal days, which is how our body and our reptilian brain responds to all the stress in our ever-changing environment. So it needs to be acknowledged. What I love about this approach is it really acknowledges the stressors that we experience every day. And I know some people close to me will reject the idea of stress and sort of say, look, that's just a man-contrived concept for it's a word that doesn't we don't have to attach meaning to. But I think, really our body is manifestation of the stress that we experience. Another one in there is digestion. If you're stressed, you're either holding on or you're running through the poos and the peas too quickly. So that's a really strong indicator too. I've heard you say many times that things are out of whack.
Yeah, it is. And look, I agree. Stress is just a word, but the reality is life nowadays, it's not the saber-toothed tigers. It is the little things that just bite at us day in, day out. And simple body systems that are meant to be there in place to cope, our body adapts to a certain point. The adrenals actually physically even enlarge to produce more hormones to have us in cope. But they get to a point they go, I just can't do this now. I really can't. And the classic is something like cortisol. Cortisol is what gives us our energy. It's the stress hormone, but we actually need it in balance to give us kind of a baseline core energy. But if you're dragging your bum, through the day and stresses, things are biting at you, you go to bed at night between 2 and 4 a.m. when your adrenals are meant to recharge and all those things are meant to come back to the right space. You're waking up in the morning not with 100%, cortisol, for instance, and then it's meant to be 10% of what it was when you wake up, and it just doesn't happen during the day because you get another little stress, another little stress, another little stress. And so then it keeps you awake the next night because it's out of balance. And then the next day you wake up and you're tired and you don't cope as well. And it's just this cycle that people are on. And I know because I did that. I did it for years in corporate Australia. I did the same thing. I get it. It's not going to go away. No. You can't make stress go away. And we just need to work out how to physically cope with it and emotionally cope with it. So you're dealing with all that emotional stuff, but our body is going to go through changes that need to be looked at as well. So this it kind of dovetails what you're doing.
Yeah, it really is kind of perfect. And I get excited every time I see a new study published about the relation between gut health and mental health. And how our gut health and the microbes in our gut actually impacts on our neurotransmitters, our beautiful, juicy, happy ones like serotonin and dopamine and norepinephrine, all of those mood stabilizers that get thrown out of whack if our gut health is suffering. And the only way to make that improve is through our nutrition. So it's just such a perfect combination.
It is. And you're not going to, the reality is you're not going to just get it from food. The reason is your body system's been under attack from life, stress and all those kind of things. So imagine you've got an inconsistent production of enzymes, for instance. And so you can be putting the healthiest food in your gut, but if it sits in there and stews, you're not going to uptake the nutrients you need anyway. So that's why I say it's not just the food. We've got to get our body back to a baseline where it's able to function properly. And then, sure, chuck the right food in, but then also learn to live from a place of prevention. We all have great intentions, but the biggest change I've made in my life the last nearly 30 years is I live from a place of prevention. So I don't wait, to get gut imbalances and crappy sleep and crappy moods and all those kind of things. I just I have little things in place, but we've got to reboot your body to start with.
What I keep, a key point I take away from that, Jen, is it's not the food that we eat, it's the food that we absorb.
Big time.
It's about making that environment just optimal for just sucking all those beautiful nutrients up and giving us that. So basically, so that we're not fighting with our hands behind our backs, we're actually on a level playing field, and we've got more, physical health and mental space to tackle life, to tackle all the small stresses so that they don't overwhelm us.
That's it. It really is it. And at some stage, you've just got to go, done. I'm just going to come back on track.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter. Don't give yourself a hard time or any of that kind of stuff. It's just like, cool, I'm just going to reset my body. That's it.
Just give it a crack.
And your body's a blood cycle. A blood cycle's 3 months. So if you ever go and see a naturopath, we always get people to take herbs and nutritionals and things we design for generally for at least 12 weeks, because it takes that to really reset your body chemistry. But if you're heading in the right direction in the first 3 or 4 weeks.
Oh, yeah. And look, and, just to give my own, it's anecdotal evidence, but it's my own direct experience, Jen. I truly was at my wit's end when I approached you, and I'd had problems for a good couple of years in the menstrual department. Look, within 2 weeks, the changes were significant, were noticeable. And I've said it to you before, I felt so relieved. I could have cried. Even now, just thinking about it, I think, you keep looking for answers and trying to do the right thing. And when your efforts don't yield results, you really can get really feeling very deflated. But, that was in the first fortnight. To be my energy, that was just this beautiful, steady, constant well of energy available to me. I imagined that I'd be jumping off the walls with energy, and it was much more stable and constant than that, which is really the optimal kind of energy that we want to be able to rely on. But talking about the 3 months thing, it was about 3 months really before I noticed my digestion really started to improve. And that was noticeable that it took quite a little bit longer. But now, it's just a given. Everything, I'm like a well-oiled engine these days.
Well, the thing is, I've lived this way for a long time, because it was, I was younger than you when I went and burned out and went way off track, and it shook me up. I thought, that's not cool. Too young.
Not doing that again.
No. So, it's really cool. And things like, like you said it, so poos and peas and periods, the 3 Ps, periods, they're awesome markers to just show us when your body's off track.
Yes.
They are. And I'm in clinic, I always, if a woman presented with a really crappy period, I just went and looked, what's her last month to 3 months of life been like? Because at some stage your body kind of goes, you haven't even got the energy or the brain space or anything to make a baby, so I'm just going to mess with that department so that you can't.
Yeah.
And it's like, cool. So as a naturopath, we just go back to, we don't look at your reproductive system, we go a step behind. And it's, in our case, we look at it that it's the adrenal glands where, your boy and girl hormones are produced, the stress hormones, all that stuff. We always go that step behind. And so the same with you. I just went, wow, you've moved house how many times?
Yeah, a bit of background there. Moved house about 12 times in 5 years. Yo.
I know. And you were just going, but it's just what I do. I'm going like, you don't get how much that rattles you to the core of your being. Changing house, changing job, changing relationship are the biggest things to rattle the core of our being. And so it just made sense to me that I just had to reboot your body. That was it.
Yeah. Absolutely fascinating. Jen, for women who are watching this who no longer period's not a thing anymore, they might be menopausal or post-menopause. Get out of here.
I am. I'm barren. I've been barren for 6 years.
And you're loving it.
I love it.
What other indicators women would be looking for there? Oh, God, you're so funny.
That's true. I'm 55. I lost my period at 49. A huge message for any woman watching this. I don't care what age you are. The one body system you want to look at and really look after is your adrenal glands, because when you reach menopause time, it's just your body saying, oh, can't make babies now. We're just going to go to the next part. And it's meant to be like, it's just a transition. Your period stops and you just continue with life with no horror stories or any of that kind of stuff. If you reach that point adrenally tired, when your adrenals are meant to still take over and produce hormones, but at a much lower level, and they can't, that's where you get the crawly skin and the dry vaginas and all the other kind of things that come, hot flashes. I've never had a hot flash. I don't intend to do a hot flash. I've never had any of that stuff. It was like at 49, my period.
There'll be women out there wanting to stab you right now, Jen.
Oh, don't stab me. It's something we can work with.
Learn from me, yeah.
Because even if you've gone through menopause and you're in the middle of having a crappy time, and it doesn't matter what kind of medication or something a doctor's got you on, at some stage you still have to look after your adrenal glands.
Yeah.
You've got to go and do that piece behind, because otherwise you're falsely telling your body that it can do something when it can't. You're falsely telling it it's still in that breeding time so that you don't get the symptoms. It's not the go. You've got to still go back and address that. So naturopaths, we just look to that step behind. So if you're your age, man, just look after your adrenals all the way through life.
Yeah, all the way through. And
it's it makes like the second half of your life a breeze. Like, seriously. It's cool.
And one of the key things, Jen, has been herbs, the adaptogens, I think.
Adaptogens.
Yeah.
Yeah. Adaptogen herbs are the class of herbs that naturopaths prescribe the most. And they'll come from everywhere from China and Western herbs to Indian herbs. There's lots of different ones. And different ones for different kind of uses around the adrenals. But bottom line, adaptogens adapt to what you're doing. So, whether you're taking them in the morning to get more energy, because that's what they do, they adapt to what you're doing, or I like to take them at nighttime, because the most important thing you will do all day is sleep. And particularly to recharge your adrenals, you need to be asleep by 10 p.m. because that first 4 hours sleep between 10 and 2 is the most important. Between 2 and 4 is when your adrenals recharge. And adaptogens, if you take, it's got to be like you take it, lay down, or brush your teeth, lay down, go to sleep, not lay down, read a book, or do whatever else. If you do that, it brings you into that real beautiful adrenal recharging sleep. And that's been a big secret to me, being so well at 55 compared to burnt out in my 20s, taking adaptogen herbs. But again, you're not just your adrenal glands, you're all of your body systems. So just taking adrenals won't do the job. Adrenals, just taking adaptogens won't do the job. You've got to look at all your body systems, and that's why I'm a big fan of working with a system instead of one single product, because we're not one body system.
Yes, that's been the biggest takeaway for me, Jen. I really do believe that there's a reductionistic sort of approach to health that isn't inclusive of the whole body, and that's what I particularly love about this system. It just gives you that really cool foundation, and it's inclusive of all the needs of the body, to make sure that you, as I've said before, elevates you to just that optimal state. So
you can. And Hippocrates said, given the right place and time, your body can heal anything. The problem is people don't give it the right place and time. They want to shortcut the system and just look to one piece where the end symptom is happening, but that's not what's going on. You've still got to look at the whole body and how all the body systems are interacting. So that's probably a big difference between natural therapies and traditional or modern medicine, whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, Jen, big picture is I just think creative coping and together working with you with this nutritional cleansing system is just such a perfect marriage. What I plan to do is provide people with some links that they can follow at the end of this little presentation, this little recording, and that'll give them opportunity to hook straight in with me for a Skype session, quick 10-minute session, and I can give the rundown on exactly what this whole shebang entails. But it's 6 weeks, handheld journey. I like to think of it as a time of transformation and building some cool life skills that you can take with you on this journey, because tools are good. Tools are necessary. And I know we've spoken, Jen, that we try and link in with you, with everyone that signs up for this particular program, to have a bit of a one-on-one time with you.
Absolutely. I'm here to back you up as well. So for me, I want to be able to help the masses. That's why I've had my career the way I have. This is another avenue that we do it. And so absolutely, I've got your back and I've got your people's back. So any of those interesting kind of naturopath questions or any of that kind of stuff, that's what I'm here for. So they've got access to me through you.
Love it. And secretly, I
program.
hope, yeah, Jen, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
I absolutely love the naturopathic questions. So, like, I hope they're like nitty gritty ones, people. Secretly, I'd love to study naturopathy. Anyway, I'll like live vicariously through Jen.
Ain't got no home, no shoes, no money.
I have a tickly nose, sorry. I apologise.
Good at construction.
I'm just going to do that piece again. Just because this sneeze wants to do something.
And that's the itching.
Okay. Yeah, so adaptogen.
I think we should just keep it all in.
You would. Okay, so, oh man.
We need to talk about this offline. I just love you. Thank you, Jen.